Today we are making banana bread and talking about money. Come along with me. So, a lot of people don't want to think about money. They think investing and budgeting are boring. They want to focus on their day to day life because the activities they choose in their day to day life, they've chosen for a reason. It's because they've chosen a job that is exciting or satisfying to them. They're hanging out with friends that they love. They're doing hobbies that they enjoy. And money just seems unimportant or boring or greedy and selfish to think about. And I get that. Money is not the most exciting topic in the world generally. And there's a lot of societal baggage associated with it, where there are these kind of moral judgments placed on money, whether you have money, whether you don't have money. People will think that means you're lazy or greedy. There are a lot of reasons to avoid thinking about money. On top of that, I think for a lot of people, money brings up these feelings of guilt or shame that thinking about money reminds them of mistakes they've made or that makes them think that they should be doing better than they are. So a lot of people just avoid thinking about it altogether. I think that can be a big mistake because money is one of those things where if you just bury your head in the sand and ignore it and avoid it, problems get worse. If you're in debt and you just ignore it, the interest just causes that debt to continue growing. If you're not saving for retirement and you just ignore it, then every year you're giving compound interest less time to work, right? So the problem gets bigger. So what do you do if you're somebody who doesn't want to focus on money all the time, but you still live in a society where money matters? Well, I think the good news is that it's actually a solution. There are things you can do with your finances to set it up to where you're not ignoring the problems, but you also aren't having to think about it all the time. And the key to this is utilizing automation. And even that might sound scary, but trust me, it's not. You see, if you ignore your financial problems, they just get bigger. But if you create a system where your financial issues are all automated, then it means that they're actually taking care of themselves. So instead of you having to worry about it day to day, you've just set up a system in advance where it's being handled. Now, that does mean a little bit of work up front. Like you have to think about your finances for a little while to get the system all set up. But once you do, it means not only do you not have to think about it so much in your day to day, it also means that you can remove the worry and the guilt in the day to day because you know you're not just ignoring the problem. You've actually set up a system where the problem gets resolved. There's some people who, when they start thinking about finances and think they need to take control of their finances, they think it means that they need to build really complex spreadsheets and track every dollar they spend and spend an hour a night reconciling everything they've done financially and giving every dollar a home. I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think if you do it that way, you're letting money consume your life. And I don't think that's the point of what we're doing. So if the goal is to have a financial situation where you don't have to worry about it and you actually meet your financial goals and you don't have to have the worry and the guilt associated with it, then what we need are financial systems. We want to stop thinking about what we need to do day to day and start thinking more like an engineer. How do you set something up that is self-correcting and automated so that you don't need to constantly monitor it? That automation is really the key to a life where you don't have to worry about it or think about it all the time. I think most people are so focused on their own goals in life, the tangible things that they actually want to go out and do, that their financial situation is kind of an afterthought for them. And to be honest, I think that's how it should be. I think, money is a tool for us to build the life that we want, not the other way around. So I think if we're constantly thinking about money or doing things just for money, I think we're doing it the wrong way. I think everything we do in life should be focused on building community, achieving great things, making the world a better place, helping other people, experiencing new things even. I mean, there are lots of things that are important to life, and money might help or hinder with those goals, right? Like not having money can make it so you can't do the things you want to do or spend time with the people you want to spend time with. And having money can buy you the freedom to do more of those things, right? But like I said, money is the tool, it's not the end goal. We shouldn't avoid it. We shouldn't let stress and shame cause us to kind of bury our heads in the sand about it. But I also don't want it to become an obsession. Don't want it to take up too much of my thought or too much of my time. Because my time is better spent doing other things, right? I'd rather spend my time making banana bread than stressing about actively managing my financial situation or updating a spreadsheet. So if money is the tool that kind of buys you the freedom to do the things you want to in life, specifically your investments, because those are going to be able to replace your earned income by earning income for you, right? But if money is a tool to buy your freedom, automation is the tool that buys your brain freedom. Automation is the tool that makes it so that you don't have to constantly think about it. There are probably more, but I think there are two main things that we should definitely automate with our financial situation. And that is our budget and our investments. Those two things, the more we can take our own behavior and willpower out of the equation, the better our situation will become. Getting close. I don't know if you guys are a avoid your problems kind of person, but I definitely am. I've definitely made my financial situation worse at times by avoiding things that are uncomfortable. Believe me, I get it. No judgment here. I get why people avoid things that make them feel embarrassed or stupid or shame. But the good news is that when you start to take control of the situation and build up systems that help fix it, you can get rid of a lot of those negative emotions. So we have some Trader Joe's banana bread mix. Got some eggs, butter, oil, and some old bananas that I'm hoping aren't too old. I think you're supposed to let them get pretty brown, right? So we'll see. So let's start by talking about automating your budget. I think the problem a lot of people have, and it's accidental, is that they try to save what is left over after spending each month. And what works better is to spend what's left after saving. Just flipping that order can make a huge difference in your financial life. So what does that mean in practice? It's pretty simple. It just means that as soon as you get paid, you set up a recurring transfer into a savings account or a brokerage account or a retirement account. Whatever your savings goal might be, you just automate that saving immediately as soon as you get paid. And it might look different for everybody. Oh, we had a whisk. I can't find it. I'm going to use a fork. So it might look different for everybody because your savings goals are going to be unique, right? So it might mean as soon as you get paid, $100 gets transferred automatically into your Roth IRA. And $50 gets transferred into a joint brokerage account for your emergency fund, and you put it into a money market. And it might mean that $20 gets put into a savings account for travel. Whatever it might be, whatever your particular savings goals are, you just automate it so that that comes out first as soon as you get paid. And you might ask, why does that matter? Right? It's the same dollar amount. Why does it matter the order? Well, it actually makes a big difference for a couple of reasons. A, it prioritizes those savings goals. So instead of those being treated as an afterthought, that's the first thing that your money goes to. It gives you a certain confidence that you are working towards those goals and not just ignoring them. And then it also makes your progress towards those goals predictable because you can just look and say, oh, I'm saving $200 a month towards this goal. After so many months, I will hit the goal. It becomes predictable and reliable. And that is a lot better than just every time you remember to at the end of the month and still have money left over, You decide then to put some money towards the goal. That doesn't work reliably. I think we all know this by now. But it also has some cool like psychological effects because it is front loading the math and it is front loading the math and the willpower. So when you are in a calm and rational, peaceful state of mind, you can set your own budget and your own savings goals, right? You can set your priorities. And then later, when you are in a state of just pure hedonistic selfishness, in the moment desire, right? In a state of wanting to spend money, you don't need to be calm and rational in that moment and think, oh, but what are my long-term savings goals and how do I weigh those against my current spending needs? You've already made those decisions, right? It never works well when you're trying to make those decisions in the moment. When your friend is saying, hey, let's go out for cocktails. To be clear, I'm not saying you shouldn't go get cocktails with your friend. You probably should. You want to say yes in that moment. That's not the time for doing budgeting and mental math and having willpower. You have to front load that. And so setting up that automatic budget where your savings goals are set up in advance and automatically saved for, it makes it so that you just can spend the money that is left over after saving, right? One of the benefits of that is that that money that's left over is there for spending. So it actually removes the guilt of spending. If your friend calls you up and says, hey, let's go get cocktails, you don't have to feel guilty about saying yes. If you can look at your bank account and say, oh, I've got plenty of money that is for spending, so sure, I'll go spend it on this fun activity. I made another video about this that didn't involve banana bread, but I'll link to it up wherever it goes, and you can check it out. So if you want guidance on how to set up that kind of system, that other video will kind of walk through the step-by-step. But in short, what you do is you set up those different accounts for your different savings goals, decide how much you want to go to that every paycheck, and then just set up recurring transfers to happen immediately after you get paid into those accounts. If it's going into an investment account, like a retirement account or brokerage account, you can also set up automatic purchases to happen like the day after the transfer. So all of this can be automated, which is the most important part. Because once you get it set up, once you front load that work of setting up this system, you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just going to run. And that's going to make your life so much easier and so much more stable financially. I know it's made a lot of impact on my financial situation. Because, yeah, I was one of those people that would just look at my bank account and say, oh, I've got, $2,000 or whatever in that account. So I feel okay financially. I feel like I've got enough money for whatever fun spending I want to do. But that's often because I wasn't actually looking ahead at what, bills were coming up. So it's easy to say, oh, I've got $2,000, but if $1,000 of it is for your mortgage that comes out in 2 days, you actually don't have as much as you feel like you do, right? And so by automating some of those savings goals and maybe having money set aside in a different account for those automatic recurring bills like your mortgage, you can actually have a more accurate picture of what your spending money looks like, and it can really help you avoid getting into trouble by overspending. I feel like this is too small. Is this an 8-inch loaf pan? So automating your savings is one of those things that's really, really simple, but it will absolutely change your life if you actually give it a shot. Am I in focus? I can't tell. It is one of the most powerful ways that I've found to not have to think about money anymore like day to day, because it's just set up to automatically work. And then the other thing you want to automate is your investments. So when you have those recurring transfers going into retirement accounts or brokerage accounts, you can set up that money to automatically purchase investments for you. And that is absolutely what I think most people should do. So especially with investing, there's a lot of risk of kind of behavioral or emotion-based problems creeping into your plan. With investments, it's really easy for people to get hung up on questions of, am I buying at the wrong time? Am I buying the wrong investments? Should I be changing my strategy based on what the market is doing today? Should I sell my portfolio because Maybe there's going to be a recession or a market crash. And a lot of these questions can just introduce the potential for human error. It can introduce problems by making decisions that are emotional instead of rational. So I think one of the best things you can do is just set up a financial system that tries to remove as many decisions as possible from your day to day. And the good news is that that is pretty simple to do, because I think the best way to invest is to buy index funds, which are funds that buy thousands of different stocks for you all at the same time. And they're bought in weights that are proportional to kind of where they are in the market. So bigger companies get more of your money, smaller companies get less of your money, so that the fund overall acts and responds like the overall market does. And it's like self-cleansing. You don't have to worry about updating it as new companies come in or companies go bankrupt. That all happens automatically inside the index fund. So buying an index fund like that removes one of the decisions, which is, what should I buy? Or, am I buying the right investment or the wrong investment? All of those decisions get replaced by just owning the index fund that does it for you. You can automate investments because of index funds, right? You don't need to be looking at the market every day saying, what stocks should I buy today? What stocks are currently doing well? All that doesn't matter. Then the other decision that a lot of people get tripped up on is whether now is a good time to buy stocks, or, am I buying at the wrong time? And you can get rid of that decision by doing something called dollar cost averaging, which is where you just buy a certain dollar amount on a recurring schedule. So it might be every paycheck, every 2 weeks, I'm going to put $200 into my Roth IRA and put it in a total stock market index fund, right? And so by just having those recurring purchases, you've set up a system now where you don't need to worry about the market timing. And here's why. It's because when you dollar cost average like that, it automatically buys fewer shares when the prices are high. And if the market drops, it automatically buys more shares when the prices are low. So by having recurring purchases like that, you've set yourself up with like a rules-based system that automatically makes you benefit from market drops. And as long as you are investing in a diversified portfolio for a long time, I mean, like you're buying investments for 20 or 30 years from now when you retire, you don't ever need to worry about market drops. In fact, they're good for you. They're going to benefit you. So you don't need to stress about what the market's doing. You don't need to worry about, should I buy or should I sell? You just don't ever sell. Don't ever sell until you reach retirement age and you need to make withdrawals. Just keep buying and it'll automatically take care of all the rest for you. So those are kind of the two main things that I recommend automating. You'll just know that these processes are working for you behind the scenes. So you don't have to wake up in a cold sweat because you're not sure if you're ever going to be able to retire. You won't have to stay up all night stressing because you don't have an emergency fund and you're worried about what would happen if you lose your job. So it really just does a whole lot to help reduce the day-to-day stress of your life, all without adding anything to your daily to-do list. I really think that's kind of the key. At least it was for me. Because for me, trying to manually budget or keep this at front of mind never really worked. I feel like it's too easy to get overwhelmed or to blow it off if it's something you have to manually have the willpower to do. So that's what I got for you today. Now, we'll have videos on this channel that go into depth about all those concepts. So if you're not sure about how to choose a retirement account or how to choose a specific index fund to buy inside that account, stay tuned, subscribe, because we're going to have lots of videos that cover those topics for you. But also, if you do have specific questions, send me an email. That email address is going to be listed in the video description. I'd love to be able to address your specific questions. Now we just have to wait for the oven to be done. Anyway, let me know if you like this more casual kind of format. If you do, let me know what else I should bake. Could do some sourdough. Haven't done that since the pandemic, but it's a good time. Let me know if you have any money and or baking tips in the comments. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it comes down to is that money doesn't have to be scary. And to be honest, I think this is the thing that a lot of people overlook is, they don't want to have to think about money, but by avoiding money, it actually sets up problems where that's all you can think about. All you can think about is how in trouble you are, right? How much debt you have or how behind you are for your retirement goal. Wondering if you can ever retire, wondering what'll happen to you and your family if you lose your job, if you get laid off. Avoiding your money problems actually makes you have to think about it a lot more. So if your goal is to not have to think about money, not have to worry about it, try taking a couple of these steps. Okay, it's time for the moment of truth. If you do have any questions, please send me an email. If I inspired you to make banana bread, send me a photo. If I inspired you to set up some automations in your financial system and it works for you, let me know. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. Banana bread and money.